On a sunny California estate, a big, easygoing dog named Buck rules the household like he owns the place, which of course he kind of does. He's part Saint Bernard, part Scotch Shepherd, and fully convinced that lounging in the sun and bossing around the kids and servants is his destiny. Life is comfortable, even bourgeois, until a single, thoughtless moment changes everything and he's uprooted from the warmth of home and shipped north to the frozen chaos of the Klondike. If you didn't feel a little tug at your chest when his world flips, check your pulse. This one's designed to do that. Buck's early chapters are almost pastoral. He's spoiled, playful, and worships his human family, especially the gentle Judge Miller. Then Manuel, a man who works for the household and has a terrible gambling problem, makes a choice that starts Buck on his long, brutal education. He sells the dog to pay a debt. It's a gut punch of betrayal. Buck goes from a life of ease to a cramped cart and then to a new owner who's cold and indifferent. The world shrinks into a series of jolting sounds, strange smells, and the frightening clank of chains. We get a clear sense of how abrupt and uncivilized the change is. This isn't just a change of address. It's a plunge into a different universe where survival matters more than manners. Transported over ship and rail, Buck winds up in the Yukon in the middle of the gold rush, where men have forgotten how to be kind and the dogs have forgotten the luxury of naps. The first people who really understand how to use him are a pair of Canadian postal couriers, Perrault and Francois. They don't spoil him, they train him. They recognize Buck's intelligence and strength and put him to work hauling sleds across frozen rivers and silvery tundra. Bitterly beautiful, the northern landscape becomes a character in its own right. Dazzling white, dangerous, and indifferent to men's greed. Buck learns quickly. The sled team is a strict meritocracy. You either pull, adapt, or you're food for the elements, and Buck's instinctive nobility, his refusal to be a victim, starts to show. He earns respect, starts to lead, and discovers a growing, uncanny connection to the wild world he never knew existed. As Buck sharpens into a sled dog, the film gives us a string of owners that test him in different ways. He's tossed to the care of a trio led by a man named Hal and his pampered, ill-prepared sister Mercedes, who are after gold but clueless about dogs, sledding, or basic common sense. This part of the movie is a slow-motion disaster. The trio mistreats the animals, overpacks the sled, and refuses to listen to anyone who knows better. There's a moment when you wish the winter itself would step in and shut these fools down. The hardship under Hal's command is real. Dogs die, people make catastrophic mistakes, and Buck's resilience is pushed to the limit. He adapts by becoming more cunning, more feral, less dependent on the niceties of human affection. Just when it looks like Buck's arc is headed toward ruin, John Thornton appears. A rugged, humane prospector with a soft spot for damaged animals, Thornton saves Buck from a near-fatal end. Their meeting is quiet but powerful. Thornton doesn't own Buck in the way Buck once knew ownership. Instead, he earns Buck's trust with patience, warmth, and, importantly, a willingness to listen to the dog's needs. For Buck, who's been betrayed and used, Thornton is a revelation, a human who loves not because it's convenient, but because it matters. Their bond becomes the emotional heart of the story. It's not sappy, it's elemental. You feel the depth of their connection in small gestures, a steadying hand, a shared look, a mutual rescue from danger. Under Thornton's care, Buck softens again, but he's not the same pampered pet he started as. He's an animal tempered by hardship and experience, and he loves Thornton with a fierce, almost mythic loyalty. They find success and small-scale happiness together. Buck's intelligence and strength help Thornton in search of a rich gold claim, and in return Thornton gives Buck space and choice. There's a scene where Buck explores the wilderness, drawn by the call of something older than men, and then turns back to Thornton, choosing love and loyalty over simple wild freedom, at least for a while. It's beautifully done. The film makes you understand why Buck oscillates between two worlds, but the wilderness itself is relentless and seductive. Buck meets and sizes up other animals, and there's a constant, simmering reminder that he belongs to a lineage that predates civilization. His instincts, the so-called call of the wild, tug at him in ways he can't entirely ignore. At the same time, the greed that drove so many characters northward never really leaves the backdrop. Men whose hearts were supposed to be soft turn ugly in search of gold, alliances fray, and survival becomes as much about human frailty as animal endurance. The film builds toward a high-stakes confrontation with a band of indigenous people who feel threatened by the invasion of prospectors into their territory. This is the story's darkest moment. Thornton is killed in an ambush while defending his claim and the people who had become his friends. It's a brutal, sudden loss, and the film doesn't shy away from Buck's reaction. Grief washes over him, but grief in Buck is also translated into something older and more terrible: the cold, patient logic of nature. Buck avenges Thornton with a ferocity that is both heartbreaking and inevitable, then, in the aftermath, answers the deeper call he'd been resisting. He joins a wild wolf pack, accepting the life of a leader of the wilderness he was always half in and half out of. One of the movie's central achievements is how it gets us to care about this dog so fully that his choices, to live with a human, to return to the wild, feel like moral decisions, not just animal whims. The film also explores the complicated human motives behind the gold rush. Some men are honorable, some are desperate, and some are dangerously ignorant. That trio led by Hal is almost cartoonishly bad at frontier living, which gives the movie some comic relief, but also serves to underline how unprepared many people were for the harsh realities of the North. Conversely, characters like Perrault, Francois, and John Thornton are portrayed with nuance. They do harsh things because the land demands it, but they also show deep respect for the animals and the wilderness. Technically, the film leans heavily on visuals and the expressive work of its animal characters, which are impressive. Buck is mostly CGI, but the animation and voice choices are designed to make him feel alive and authentic, and they largely succeed. The cinematography treats the Yukon like a character you want to both admire and fear. The scale of the ice and snow makes human ambitions look small. Musically, the score underscores the emotional beats without ever pushing too hard. The pacing is deliberate. Not all scenes exist to move the plot. Some are there to let you breathe and feel the North. If you like your adventure with a side of sentiment and a dose of moral clarity, this is a version of the Jack London tale that emphasizes heart over harshness. It's family-friendly but not saccharine. It knows the story's tragedies and treats them with respect. There are moments that tug at your chest and others that make you laugh, especially at Buck's stubborn, almost comic ways of asserting himself, or the ridiculous incompetence of some of the human characters. That balance keeps the film from tipping into either pure melodrama or a cold naturalism. In the end, Buck finds the place he was always being pulled toward, the wild, as both sanctuary and destiny. Yet the film leaves us with the sense that the wild didn't rob him of his love for Thornton. Instead, it gave him a fuller identity. He becomes a legend among the wolves, the stuff of campfire stories. But the memory of his human friend remains. It's a bittersweet finish. You cheer for Buck's freedom, but you miss the gentle warmth of the home he once had. That tension between loyalty and self-actualization, between love and the call of something bigger, is what lifts the story beyond a simple animal adventure into something more mythic. So, if you're in the mood for a film about loyalty, survival, and the strange ways love looks across species boundaries, this version of The Call of the Wild does a solid job. It's a little glossy in places,